Welcome back, everyone.
Hello, welcome back.
Glad that you guys are here, and hopefully, nobody is going to be missing this podcast because they were taken up by the rapture.
Oh,
So,
what? You mean
yeah.
there are a group of people that believe that there's going to be a rapture like today? So we are recording this on Tuesday, and
September
basically,
23rd.
a lot of people, especially in America and in Africa, are excited because the rapture was meant to be either today or tomorrow, which is the 24th. The
Oh,
pro,
well, then there's still
there's
time.
still
People can,
time.
yeah.
Right. So the time is nigh, or maybe not nigh. The time is tomorrow nigh. So
Yeah.
we are expecting to be a few Christians short of our population on the planet,
Mm.
which is really exciting because there's nothing more like less hate and less
Comments
bigotry and less comments. I
on
mean,
our channel.
I would love for us to have more comments and more engagement. There's nothing
Yeah,
like that. But I
sure.
mean, I think we can deal with the few that will be raptured tonight to go or tomorrow or 12 a.m. on the 24th. Who knows? This is exciting. It's not like this is has happened over like 24 times since Christianity has ever been a
No,
thing. No, this is the first time this has happened, Ali. I know that in your worldview in Mormonism, this is not something that you even look at or even care about.
no. Yeah.
And same for being an ex-SDA, the idea
Okay.
of rapture is not something that we support.
Mm.
It's not something that we think about. We just think that people are deceived by the devil. But the catch is, if you're an SDA in Ghana, where most of the people that are Christians are some form of charismatic type of Christians or evangelical, they hold on to the rapture ideology. So the rapture ideology in Ghana is very dominant.
Oh,
So even if you're an SDA, it's very difficult for you to
avoid
dismiss
it.
that because everyone around you is confirming
Yeah.
that. So that also adds to your own anxiety.
Oh
And I
God.
remember growing up as a child, the amount of anxiety that I felt and having to deal with the SDA teaching of what the end of days will look like, and also what
Oh,
the mainstream Christianity approach of the end of days will look like. Now, a lot of people that are Christians obviously don't agree with this because they say, well, nobody knows the time of the hour. Jesus Christ even said, not even the Son
that's
knows
right.
that knows the hour, which actually that statement also confirms Mormon teaching about Jesus because Jesus is not God. If Jesus doesn't know something, but
Oh,
only the Father knows, that confirms Mormon's teaching. So, hey, who knows?
shout out,
But
Mormons. You
shout out
got
to the
something
Mormons.
right, possibly.
Actually, the Jehovah's Witness also got it right too. So yeah.
Oh,
So it's like, yeah, hey, see, this is where the separation that happened in the Great Disappointment in 1844. This is where it becomes relevant because that's
okay.
the explanation that the Jehovah's Witnesses came up with, and also the Mormons and the SDAs. Is that actually this is what's actually going to happen, and now we have this rapture. This is happening in modern times where we have cameras, and we hope that people live stream it when they're doing it. Actually, by the way, that would be really cool to actually see a live stream rapture.
The
That
rapture.
would be awesome. I'm just being pedantic, but many people in the Christian community do not agree that the rapture is going to happen. Although there is always going to be that fringe group in Christianity that wholeheartedly believe, to the extent of some of them selling their possessions.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
and some of them
That makes
canceling their
sense.
life insurances. Imagine
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Imagine. So,
I was just gonna say, I remember Bart Ehrman, who
oh,
is a scholar
yeah.
of the Old and New Testament, specifically, I think the New Testament, and how,
Love
yeah,
Barterman.
I know, he's amazing. And what was it? He just shared about even in his time in the 1980s, they were pretty dang convinced that that's when the rapture was going to happen. And
Right?
he said he saw people sell their homes, their life savings, giving it away, and then nothing happened. And
Unbelievable.
yeah, did you know that Bart Ehrman teaches at a university not too far from where I live?
No way.
Yeah, he teaches in Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
Wow.
So, yeah, not too far, about 3 hours from my house. So,
Cool
yeah,
dude. That's
he's
awesome.
very inspiring person and
Yes.
helped me through a lot of my deconstruction, that's for sure. So, shout out to Bart.
He really helped me in my understanding in the New Testament as well.
Oh, yeah.
I was, as I mentioned before, I was very comfortable in the Old Testament, but I wasn't very comfortable with the New Testament because I didn't know much. But I've listened
Okay.
to a lot of scholars, including Bartham, and that has made me very much aware of what was going on, the cultural
Yes.
context, what the Greeks say
Yes.
about the
Yeah.
New Testament, and what the
Yeah.
writers outside of the Bible also have to say about New Testament
Yeah.
as well. So yeah, it's he's very knowledgeable, very cool. But anyway, that is all to say, if you are not raptured, you're not a true Christian. Sorry. It's just so fun
Uh,
to see Christians bicker against their own words from the Bible. Like, well, no, that's not what
yeah.
Jesus said. Well, actually, he said this, but it's like, you guys can't figure out what your Jesus said. Relax, the Mormons got you. Okay. Speaking of
Goodness.
the Mormons, what are we going to talk
Okay.
about today, Ali?
Well, right now we're kind of like peeling back the layers of these gospel topic essays that kind of reveal the controversial secrets, I guess that we could say, or just the
Mm-hmm.
controversial topics that have been floating around in church history for so long. So the last time we talked about the four versions of the first vision. And
Mm-hmm.
tonight I'd like to talk about how the Book of Mormon was really translated and build
Oh.
off of that story of the first vision, how the church began, but then also how Joseph now will take these golden plates and produce the Book of Mormon. So that's kind of what
Ah.
I want to talk about tonight.
So just to understand, my
Yeah.
frame of reference in when it comes to scriptural translation has been having a copy or said original copies of manuscripts of what was written by some people and
Yeah.
is being translated from one language to another by another
Yes.
group of people over a period of time, and we don't even know what the original manuscripts are. We just have the original copies of said
Mm.
manuscripts. But
Mhm.
this is different when it comes to Mormonism. Mormonism is the one guy is translating it from the golden plates,
Which
or
are the
allegedly, which
original.
are the original
Correct.
information from the
Correct.
angel Moroni,
That's
him or
correct.
herself, himself, preferably.
Himself?
So this is one guy translation. There's no group, there's no council, there's no group of
No.
scholars doing this. Is the one guy. Okay, so this is very different.
Yeah.
First-hand copy translation that we're talking about.
Correct.
Okay, so this is very
You
different from the Bible. All right, cool.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
very unique. This is like the original source document
Mm.
was handed to him. Basically, the story that I was given since I was a child was that Joseph had the plates
I got the
and he
golden plates.
used
Sorry, I just the song is ringing in my head. I can't.
in your production of the Book of Mormon musical, when they sing that song, did they
Yeah,
actually have like dinner plates
they
that they
did.
were holding that were just gold? I love that. I thought that was just too funny. So yeah, he didn't have dinner plates. He had actual golden plates you could turn over.
You know what? I've heard this for a while. I still don't know. I still can't envision what that means. A
Okay.
plate? So are we talking about
Yeah.
plate as in
Oh,
stone
these are like
plates?
metal. These
Metal
are like
plates.
metal made out of gold. Yeah. Like if you
Okay.
think of a metal material
Right.
that was chiseled upon
Hmm.
using whatever, and it isn't from God. This is what the Native Americans were using to collect this record. So it was the American Native Americans that
Oh,
they chiseled on the record this
I
testament.
didn't know
And
that.
so, yeah, so there you go.
Okay.
There you go. So
Okay.
that's what's going on. And
Okay.
he used the Urim and Thummim, and these are like special spectacles prepared by God to do the translation. And like a scholar, he sat and translated it. All the artistic depictions that were around our meeting houses in the homes of members always depicted Joseph sitting at a table, just like you and I are, with these plates out in front of him where he's reading them and writing on a piece of paper what was being translated to him.
Okay.
And so,
Can
yeah.
I jump in here?
And yeah, absolutely.
You just briefly went over something. Did you say God carved spectacles for him?
No, he basically gave these special spectacles
God
that
God
are
gave it
called the
to him.
Urim and Thummim. Yeah, they were in the box with the golden plates. So when Moroni leads them to the hill Cumorah, where he excavates and pulls out this box, and inside the box are the golden plates and also these spectacles that are used by Joseph to be able to translate.
I want to
So.
understand something. You just explained that the golden plates were not necessarily given by God, but is the tool that the Native Americans used.
Yeah, it's their record. It's the record of the ancient Native
At what
American.
point between that and the golden plates? Sorry, you can tell I'm a bit confused here. The box that the angel leads Joseph to is
Yes.
contained within the spectacle, and then what else?
There's a brass plate that was in
So
there.
these are
If
plates from God.
no. Okay.
Okay, so I
So,
I just want to understand what's from God and what was just something that was found already made by man that the angel led him to
so I'm
discover.
trying to remember exactly, but the Urim and Thummim,
Hmm.
you can find that in the Old Testament as well. These
Oh.
are tools
Hmm.
that I believe are of a divine nature. So I believe they do come from God, but
Ah.
listeners, help me out here. I'm sure
Okay,
there's
that's fine.
somebody more knowledgeable
Okay.
on this topic. But basically, this is also coming and stemming from an Old Testament root. And so Joseph just
Mm.
says basically that they were in there, and that
Ah.
was part of how he was able to translate.
Understood.
And then in all the artistic depictions, this is a big deal because this is how Joseph was always shown. Even in the movies the church made, you would always see Joseph there with a book with these plates right next to him. And he was reading them and translating them, and then on a piece of paper, writing down the things that,
Mm.
just like a real proper translation as you
Yeah.
described at the beginning of this podcast. But now we have this essay, and this essay admits a different story. And what it talks about is that instead of doing this kind of a translation, the kind that stands to reason with a proper definition of what translating is,
Yes.
what we have is that they admit he used a seer stone, and this seer stone was the same seer stone that he used when he was in his treasure digging years. And I've mentioned that in the past, and we'll dedicate
Ah.
an entire podcast
Yeah.
to what those treasure digging years look like for him. But at that time in history, a peep stone was a little stone that not just Joseph, but many people would declare that it helped them divine something.
It's a divination
So
tool, basically.
yeah, it's kind
Okay.
of like those divining rods. There was a lot of that going on at the time. And so he wasn't the only one that had one of these peep stones. But we were never told as members that the same stone that he kind of claimed could help him find buried treasure was the same stone that he used to translate the Book of Mormon. And so again,
Oh.
here's what finally gets admitted. Instead of sitting at a desk
Mhm.
and reading from these golden plates,
Which
what
is
was
what you were
actually,
told.
which is what I was told, all
Right.
the depictions,
Right.
everything,
Hmm.
that's what we were told. But really, what happened, and now the church sets the record straight, is that this rock
Hmm.
was placed into a hat, and Joseph put his face in the hat
Hmm.
and stared at this rock. And apparently, this rock, in perfect English, gave what was to be dictated and written on paper. So the
Oh.
plates, for the majority of the time of this translation, weren't even in the fucking room. Okay. So they were under a cloth somewhere in the house, and he didn't even need them. He just stuck his head in this hat and would read out loud what was being presented on this rock.
And who was writing?
And And he had different scribes at different times. So his wife even helped
Oh,
him scribe.
oh, really? It
He
was a family
had, yeah,
business.
it
Okay.
was absolutely. And so,
What? Wait.
yeah,
Okay, so let's pause here for a second. So we
okay,
have two images now. We have one image, which is the mainstream
exactly.
image that you were indoctrinated with, where
That's
you have
right.
in the movies, in the arts, and probably the
Hmm.
most preferred ideology, which is that he was translating from the golden plates from one moment using spectacles that he found in a box that Angel Moroni led him to, and he was
Correct.
translating, transferring it from the golden plates to texts that he is writing. And that was the more
Correct.
mainstream one. But then no, he
Yeah.
puts his head in a hat and he has this
Yeah.
divination tool. This what's the stone called again?
A
A
peepstone.
peep stone. Okay, and then the stone is showing him words in English, and he's reading it
Yes.
out loud, like
Correct.
"Your mama so fat" kind of thing, and his head is in the thing. And he's just, and then people are like, "What did he say?" He said that, and then they just writing it
Yeah.
down. It was
That's right.
right.
Yep.
So I hope they were asking for clarification as to what he was saying. Like how
I,
is this happening? Is this like
mm,
my head is imagining things right now. So the text appear in the stone. He sees the stone in some kind of like a crystal ball kind of thing. Like he sees
yeah.
it appear, and
Yeah.
then he reads it.
Hmm.
Does it last for like? Does it have a time limit for it to last? Like you need to get this because this is gonna last for like 2 seconds, and the next thing is gonna come up. Does he get to repeat himself? Like if in case they don't hear, do you get the craziness that's going on in my head right now? Do you see how crazy this is? Because it says, let's say for
Breathe,
example,
Evans.
I,
Breathe.
I'm a nerd right now. So, for example, Ali wore black shirt today, and then his wife was like, "What did he say? Did he get that? Is it too late for him to repeat himself? Is it gone?"
No, until it was written on paper perfectly, it didn't move on to the next sentence.
Okay,
Okay?
okay.
Oh man.
My brain is on overdrive. I'm sorry,
I know,
but I'm
I
just
know.
I'm just imagining the mess and the confusion this is. Have you tried dictating stuff to your kids for them to write them down?
I know, it's so true.
It
Just
is a mess.
even a grocery list, like
Yes,
one word,
yeah.
bananas. Yeah.
That's like, what did he
Butter,
say? What did he say?
flour. Just write it.
Wait, did you
Yeah,
did you say
exactly.
flower or flower? Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Do you mean flower or
Do you
flower?
want flowers or do you want the white powder stuff? Oh my
Why are
goodness.
we pretending as though human beings are one, perfect communicators, and two, perfect hearers, three,
Mm.
perfect understanders
Yeah.
of the things that we hear, and also perfect writers? Like, why do we pretend as though these are all when in our own personal experience we know that we hear wrong, we write wrong, we say wrong. Like we make mistakes all the fucking time. But then when
Yeah.
it comes to religious texts, we just suspend disbelief and just pretend as though everyone in the room was just perfect scholars and had English majors.
I think that you bring up some very, yeah,
Mm.
good points. Well,
Okay. Well, I just had to voice out the craziness that's going on in my head right now.
yes.
Like, it's a big
Yeah.
deal when you say they
Yeah.
were reading messages from God from a peepstone and they just got it
Yeah.
right. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Okay, so in this essay, basically they conflate the seer stone and the Urim and Thummim as
Urim,
if they're interchangeable.
Urim,
Urim
Urim.
and Thummim.
Oh, Urim and Thummim. There are two words.
Yes,
Urim
it's
and
three
Thummim.
words. Urim
Urim and,
and,
yeah. I meant that there were two objects, right? So,
oh,
Urim
yeah,
and
yeah,
Thummim.
yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. And so they
Okay.
kind of conflate the two. And then historically, Joseph would call his stone the peepstone, but the church tries to shift and talk about it as a seer stone to make it sound a little bit more respectable. But just historically and in his writings, he would call it a peepstone.
But
So
this is troubling though, because if we go
it
to the
is.
if we go to the Old Testament, God is against anyone that uses divination, witchcraft, and
Yeah.
sorcery, and
Yeah.
anything that is
Yeah.
not God prescribed, including seers and definitely seer stones. So
Yeah.
we kind of ignore that bit in the Old Testament, and we kind of like just go with it. Oh, he had a seer stone. Okay, I guess witchcraft and sorcery is fine, and divination is
Well,
okay.
Evans, it's not like Christianity is about picking and choosing what
Oh.
serves you in the moment,
Yeah.
right?
No, no, no.
Yeah.
No, they definitely don't cherry pick.
They
Okay.
don't do that.
No, they don't do that. That's true.
No.
That's true.
That,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, every
Yeah.
word in the Old Testament is true and not true at the same time, depending on how you feel and what your
Yeah.
agenda is.
Exactly. So this whole essay seems to be more about faith promotion rather than the historical accuracy of things.
Mm,
So they just are still trying to do a lot of PR here.
PR.
So, question is, why was this hidden? Why was the whole rock in a hat detail that everybody kind of understood in early Mormonism, but it was quickly removed? And by the time that my parents were children and I was a child and everything, that whole image was sanitized. And now we had for 200 years this particular narrative of just a proper translation, what a
Mm,
proper translation would look like. So it wasn't until 2015, around that time, when this essay came out and they admitted that there was a peepstone. And I just
mm.
remember around the time
Okay.
I was at university, I had heard a few people talk about a seer stone, and there was a little bit of knowledge around it,
Okay.
but we were quickly told to, no pun intended, but to bury our head in a hat and not question or talk about it. And anybody that did bring it up kind of was considered to be like poking the bear. And
Mm.
then in 2015, not only do they come out and admit it, but they show it. They bring it out of the vaults and they took photographs of it and put it in the church's magazine publication that comes out once a month. It's called the Ensign. Basically, they printed proof that there is, and they showed it, and people had been excommunicated for in the years past for even poking that bear. And then they
So
pull it out and they show it,
if
and they
I
show how big it
Google,
was.
if I Google
Yeah,
it right now,
Google it.
I can find
You
it.
can find the peepstone, Joseph Smith's peepstone, and viewers can do the exact same thing.
Oh man, there's 1,000 images here. This is exciting. What
Evans,
were
how much caffeine did you have today?
I just came back from the gym, so I'm feeling very
You're
energized.
like so pumped.
I am so pumped.
Oh,
You're right. You're right in that. Oh, there it is. There it is. Okay. All right. So if anyone is watching, they can see
yeah.
the stone, and then they can have the spectacles. Oh my God! Look at that. Oh, whoa. Huh.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Anyway, thank you very
Yeah.
much, Ali, for bringing this to my
Of
attention.
course. Yeah, no, 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 no. You'll have lots of fun with all those images. In fact, I would even
Wow.
encourage you and anybody else to also look up the standard images before 2015, where it's just Joseph sitting at a desk and reading just like out of a book.
My understanding up to this point, there are two
Okay.
stories. Mainstream one,
Yes.
this is golden plates and spectacles, and wife and other group of scribes translating. That's one image
Correct. Yep.
buried in the minds of most Mormons.
That
Second
is
image,
exactly right.
yeah,
Yes.
second image is him looking in a hat in a peepstone. That has been a crime to talk about until 2015.
Correct. And
Okay.
it was very jarring to most of us members to imagine our beloved prophet sticking his head in a hat, looking at a rock. There's like no dignity in that at all. And that's not the narrative, which totally makes sense why they sanitized it and
Mm,
manipulated it to the point where that was completely wiped off the slate.
wow.
These claims of the divine and the tension that now is what we have to wrestle with is, if words appeared on the stone
Hmm.
directly from God, why then do we find in the Book of Mormon thousands of edits over the years? Okay, so since it was produced, there have been so many edits, right? There were some
Right.
grammar issues and stuff like that.
Okay.
If this was coming straight from God
Hmm.
on this little projected, I don't know, whatever this peepstone was,
Yeah.
why were there so many mistakes that needed to be corrected over the years?
Wow.
And then why, and this one I'm going to get into a little bit deeper here in a minute,
Okay.
but why, when different prophets of the Book of Mormon quote stories from the King James Version, why are the errors that are in the King James Version also found in the Book of Mormon?
Ah.
If everything was correct, coming straight from God, why are those mistakes in there? And I want to talk more about that. And then the other issue is all the anachronisms. Okay. There's horses, steel, wheat, all of that's going on. And we know that none of that was here in America at the time. And
Oh.
so the Book of Mormon is riddled with anachronism. And so, again, why are there so many mistakes if this came from God? That's the biggest question. And then it leads me to even more questions. One of which is, why were the plates necessary at all?
Yeah.
Why did we need them if they weren't even used in the process? And then
Yes.
why did the church present this false narrative for so
For so
long?
long. So it has been the narrative from 18, whatever it was established,
Shortly
1830s
thereafter, yeah.
up till 2015.
Yes, yeah, for over 200 years.
Holy shit.
And how does this rock in a hat line up with the claim that the Book of Mormon is the most correct book on earth, which is the claim that Joseph Smith would perpetuate and
Right.
share with people. And then my last question that I was thinking of is, what does this say about prophetic authority and honesty?
Mm.
So there you go. The essay, it reframes Joseph's process but doesn't resolve the contradictions. And then instead of giving us clarity, it actually introduces more
More
fucked up
questions. Yeah.
questions.
Yeah.
And so it's like,
Yeah. You guys are in a
what's the
bind.
true story?
Yeah.
What is going on?
Mormons are in a bind, in a
Mm-hmm.
bigger bind. Because the thing is, with the
Yes,
Bible, there is this excuse, which is men are fallible. And the Bible
sure.
was written by different people with different agendas and different motives across different time periods. And we're writing different stories from different perspectives as well. So you have all of this that can be excused away because obviously with the Bible, it was inspired by God. It wasn't God dictated. It wasn't God word for
Exactly.
word specific. It was people who were inspired
Exactly.
by the nature of God that wrote their
Yeah.
stories about them. Some of them say inspired means actually being revealed to them. It depends on who you speak to. But still, the Christians, well, Mormons are Christians, but still, actually, that's going to be a different topic. Are Mormons Christians? Well, we're going to talk about that. But
And there's a gospel topic essay about that.
yeah, we're
And
gonna do
so
that.
we'll address it.
So, in mainstream Christianity, they have this huge excuse in scholarship that they can excuse away that if you take on the fallibility of human beings and also the fact that people were writing across different time periods and different agendas and different perspectives, of course there's going to be mistakes, of course there's going to be mistranslations, given that the Bible was actually being translated from different languages, dead languages that no longer exist, especially in the New Testament. With Aramaic, Jesus Christ speaking in Aramaic, but they write his sayings in Greek, which is translated into Latin by the Romans and then into English later on, which is like, there's so many excuses that can be allowed in mainstream Christianity to say, well, of course they got it wrong because fallible human beings are mistranslating words, and sometimes words don't mean the word here because it translates from a different language, right? But Mormons don't have this excuse because God was given these texts directly in English, so He's already pre-baked the language for you, so you don't have to worry about
Yeah.
translation issues.
Right?
And it's come directly from God through divination with the seer stone.
Mm-hmm.
And there are edits later on, which is again,
Yeah.
why are there edits? The Christians, the
Yes.
mainstream Christians, can have an excuse. Mormons
Yep.
don't have an excuse.
Nope. Exactly. So it's how you tell the story that
Mm.
matters.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
All right. So Joseph Smith, he declared that the Book of Mormon was the most correct book on earth, and that by living its truth and its precepts and everything, it would bring people closer to God than any other book. Okay. So this is like a phrase that's been endlessly used throughout my youth and growing up and
Wow.
even to this day. And so they put a lot of stress on this. Okay.
Mm. Okay.
But now what do we have? we have that Joseph put a stone into a hat, the same stone that he used for treasure digging. He buried his face in the hat because he had to block out all the light so that he could just see what was appearing on the stone.
Mm.
And then he would dictate it to the scribe. The plates were not in the room. Okay. So that far, you're with me, right?
I am with you. I'm just a bit suspicious of that because the information that God has presented on I'm suspicious of everything, Ali.
I was gonna say it. You're this, like, I mean, like,
This is the one you're suspicious about? Yeah.
yeah,
But so he needs to control the amount of light that's in the room in order to read what's
I
being
guess.
demonstrated on the seer stone, which shows like
Yeah.
how reliable are we going to depend on this guy if he
Right.
needs to reduce the light in the room
I
to
don't
see what's like.
know.
This is messy. I mean, no wonder they went with the golden plates one.
Yeah.
No one,
Yeah.
because the seer stone one is just so clearly unreliable. If you have
Yeah.
to turn off the light to read properly, to squint your eyes enough.
It's all made up.
Oh,
It's
okay.
okay. It's
Sorry.
gonna be okay.
I
It's
think
gonna be okay.
I thought this is true, but
Okay,
okay.
yeah,
Anyway.
I know. The direct pipeline from God to Joseph Smith's mouth, I
Mhm.
mean, everything should be flawless, right? But here's what we
Mm.
find. Okay, so I'm just going to expand on what I'd already said. So there have been thousands of changes. It's documented that we've had over 100,000 edits made since the first 1830 edition on grammar, spelling, and even the doctrinal adjustments over hundreds of years. There's the King James Bible copying, where whole chapters of Isaiah and Matthew appear word for word, but
Wow.
including the 1611 translation errors. And so it's interesting because one thing that we now know is that anytime in the King James Version where the word is italicized,
Mm.
we understand that thanks to the work of many biblical scholars, we can see and we can trace when scribes, monks at the time were fixing it, and when they're trying to present the King James Version, there were mistakes made.
Mm.
And now we see and understand those mistakes. So why are they in the Book of Mormon? Wouldn't God had given Joseph the exact and correct
Yeah.
translation?
Yeah, which
So,
is funny because clearly
yeah.
Joseph Smith was a King James version
Yes, he
supremacist.
loved it.
Because in
Yes,
mainstream Christianity, there
absolutely.
are a lot of people that are King
Many,
James Version supremacists. That
yeah,
is like King James
that's
Version
right.
only. And it's like, do you know how bad King James Version
That
of
one
the
is
Bible
actually,
is?
it's one of the worst ones.
It
It's
is.
very
It's the
poetic.
worst. Yes.
It's a beautiful, like thou, thee. They love to use that.
Yeah.
Lots of
I
people
mean,
like it.
I don't
Just because
agree. I don't
I
agree
understand.
whether
I
it's
understand.
tedious. It's
Yeah.
tedious and makes people sound more sophisticated than they should. Um,
Well, exactly, but it's kind
yeah,
of Shakespearean in its
yeah,
vibe,
yeah.
and so people like it
It's
for that
vibes.
reason. Yeah, the
Thou,
vibes.
O Lord,
Yeah.
thee, thouest goeth. Ugh.
And so, like horses, chariots, steel, wheat, coins, none of these things
Mm,
existed in pre Columbian America. Okay. And then the
wow.
theology, you will see how that has shifted
Mm,
through all of the textual changes. So,
mhm,
like in the early printings, it said the Son
mhm,
was the eternal Father. But then as the LDS doctrine changed, we changed that. And so, if
mm.
God was going to get it right the first time, he would have, right? So if Joseph was studying the plates and coming up with human language, you could excuse errors as translation mistakes. And then, but
Yes.
if God himself was putting the words on this glowing stone,
Hmm.
then every error, every anachronism, and every biblical copy paste problem
Hmm.
is directly on God.
It is directly
So,
on God.
yeah,
Yeah. So if you're working with the ideology that God is perfect and never make mistakes, then this is an
yeah,
indictment on your God. But if you have an ideology that God maybe is a trickster,
yeah,
or God can also deliberately deceive, or
mhm.
Joseph Smith was not actually hearing from God, but he was hearing from the
The
devil,
devil.
then this
Oh,
would be accurate, right?
yeah,
There are so many
yeah,
excuses. And this is why mainstream Christianity can easily look at Mormonism and call them deceived by the devil and stuff like that. This is why,
absolutely.
because
Yeah,
of these
sure.
clear, glaring mistakes. To someone like us, an atheist, this is just human beings being human beings, right?
Right, exactly. Exactly. Claiming things that weren't true. His claim was that it was the most correct book on earth, and his claim collapses under
Yeah.
the weight of all of this. We go from this was a miraculous, perfect translation to this was a human, messy process, but God still worked through it. That's the claim that the essay and the church now is making. Okay.
They don't get
But
that
here's,
excuse though.
yeah, that's the
They don't get it.
thing.
They don't get that.
Yeah,
The mainstream Christians get that excuse.
exactly.
Mormons don't get that excuse. I'm
No,
sorry. I would grant it because sometimes I try to be charitable. I would grant it, but
yeah,
no, you
yeah.
don't get this excuse. Sorry.
It's either miraculous or it's a human product. You don't get to have both at
Yeah.
the same time.
Exactly. It's
Yeah,
either something that came from God and God was like, hey, let me
yeah,
send Joseph Smith a message for him to write down. It's like, let
yeah.
me look at the best translation from the Bible. King James 1611. Let's like what? Why?
Yeah.
Like why would he do that?
So the whole rock in the hat thing
Falls apart.
just, yeah, and it actually makes the problem bigger because it suggests that Joseph wasn't even translating. He was dictating a divine text, and the text is full of mistakes, and it points less to God's perfection and more to Joseph's imagination.
Hmm. Which one are we gonna go for?
I don't know. You get to pick.
Yes.
Elder Cunningham.
Elder Cunningham.
Yeah,
You're making
exactly.
things up again, Arnold. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Let God be
Okay.
true and all men a lie. That's actually a quote from the Bible. Yeah. So yeah, we would rather God be true and men be the lie. So let's blame Joseph Smith's
Yeah.
fallibility and his imagination here. God can never tell lies. How dare you?
Okay, so the problems with the King James Bible and the Book of Mormon, I just wanted to make that distinction. So, some examples of the lifting of the word for word
Hmm.
from the King James Bible are like in 2nd Nephi 12 to 24. It's pretty much verbatim the entire book of Isaiah. Then we have Jesus' Sermon on the Mount in 3rd Nephi 12 to 14, and that comes straight from Matthew in the King James Bible. And those italicized words that I was talking about earlier are the ones that translators had added for the English grammar, and they're included in the Book of Mormon. They wouldn't have needed to be there if this was coming straight from God. If he was restoring that ancient text, why would that have been needed?
Yeah. It's all
So
very fishy with
yeah,
the history of this.
something's not right
But
here.
this is fascinating. This is fascinating.
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
how, as a current Mormon, and if you're a
Yeah.
Mormon listening to this, maybe you can chime in the comments, right? Don't come in here
Yeah, it'd
and
be
just accuse us
great.
of lying. Like, yeah,
Right.
sure, we are liars and we are sinners. Look at the title of our names: Two Sinners on a Sunday. Come on,
Yeah.
expect us to lie. Come on, man. Anyway, we want you to
Yeah.
chime in. And
Yeah.
how are you reconciling with this? Are you ignoring the mainstream one, or are you ignoring the Seer Stone one?
Yeah.
And if you're
Yeah.
ignoring it, what tools, what mechanism are you going by choosing the one that is correct? Are you choosing the one that you are familiar and indoctrinated with? Or the one that the church themselves have come up with after 2015 saying, in fact, this is actually how it went down?
Mhm.
And if that's the case, if you're going with the Seer Stone, how confident are you that your confidence in what you knew prior to 2015 can just suddenly be changed like that? Just like in 1978 and in 2013. Um, so it just seems to be
Yeah.
being edited and
Yeah.
being changed. And how are you dealing with
Yeah.
this? I know that you're most likely questioning it, but for now, for today, for this podcast, this is a safe space. You can let us know your doubts if you're going through that. We won't judge you, and we certainly won't report you back to your bishop. Okay, we won't. So let us know how you're dealing with this, because this is very weird.
For me, the point where we have this disconnect is that if Joseph was working through the plates, then a
Mhm.
person could argue he made mistakes or he leaned on the Bible that he knew.
Yes.
But the essay says specifically that the words appeared on the stone from God. What does that mean? So is God feeding Joseph 17th century English? And is God inserting the mistakes that you would find in a copy of the King James Bible that would have been
Mm.
found in all those 19th century homes around the time of Joseph Smith?
Yeah.
And so all of those things kind of come into play.
Right.
Or is God deliberately giving Joseph a flawed human
Exactly.
creation? And yeah,
Yeah. Or is he hearing from the devil? And that's what I mentioned before.
yeah,
Is it could be all of those things, which makes
yeah,
the ideology laughable. But at the same time,
yeah.
God sending deliberate delusions or deliberate wrong information is actually according to his nature, given that he has done that in the
Mhm.
Old Testament, where he sent lying spirits to prophets so that it led people to die. He sent delusions to people so that they might make bad decisions, so that it would justify him killing them. Like he has done this in the Old Testament. So it's
Mhm.
perfectly consistent in his nature to have
Yeah.
sent wrong information to Joseph Smith. So the message could as well come from God.
Yeah.
And it could
Mhm.
have been a deliberate delusion that God has sent.
The narrative that the church is defending, this was a record of ancient prophets in the America, and that God, through this stone, was translating it and dictating it to Joseph Smith. But is it really though that, or is it a 19th century work? And
Mm.
that's kind of where people need to rest. So the last thing,
Mm-hmm.
and this is what was the final thing for me. This is what
Mm.
basically this blew up any possibility of it being a true work. Okay.
Oh,
So here's the thing. I've talked about the different anachronisms, right? That
right.
are found in the Book of Mormon. It would be like seeing a picture of George Washington with a cell phone. We know that that would be very anachronistic because they didn't exist at the time, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's just to paint a picture. But here's my claim, and this is not my claim, but this is a claim that is very founded, is that the Book of Mormon, in and of itself, is anachronistic. And I'm going to explain to you what I mean by that,
Go for it.
okay? In pre Columbian Mesoamerica,
Mm-hmm.
people were not speaking in full sentences.
Oh. Oh boy.
Any record that we have from that time period all across the world, it would not have had continuous prose. It would have used glyphs, calendars, symbols,
Mm.
pictographs. It would talk about rituals, astronomy. It would talk about probably like chanting and calling down God in these ways. And it would not have been I Nephi being born of goodly parents or
Mm.
1611 language from the King James Bible. That's what Joseph thought in his ignorance.
Huh.
But in and of itself, the book is anachronistic because that's not how these ancient prophets would have been writing if they were writing at all. Do you understand the claim that I'm making?
I 100% do. This is pretty much the same argument that Bart Ehrman makes with the New Testament, which
Okay.
is you have the books Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John,
Mm-hmm.
Peter, First Peter,
Mm-hmm.
all of these, and these are most of them were illiterate fishermen, and yet they write their books in high
Right?
level formal Greek, a language they didn't speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
That's not how they would speak. Jesus Christ spoke in Aramaic. They would
Yeah.
probably speak in Aramaic with Jesus.
Yeah.
The Jews in Judah spoke in Hebrew, and Aramaic is kind of like a dead language preceding that.
Yeah.
And none of them spoke Greek. And then after Jesus dies, they
Yeah.
just accelerates to having Greek education quickly. They get master's degree in speaking Greek and writing Greek, and then they just write it whilst they're being
Mm-hmm.
persecuted and running away. Wow. And that's what Joseph Smith did without realizing that's
That he was doing
that he
it
was doing
because he
that.
never, I don't think Joseph had the vision that this religion was going to survive him. I am certain that he thought, hey, if this brings me profit while I'm alive,
Why
fantastic.
not?
But I don't think that he realized that archaeologists, which is where I learned this from,
Mm,
presented this as impossible, that this would have never been even a possibility to have happened. I mean, we have surviving codices like the Dresden Codex that are visual, symbolic, and
mm,
fragmentary. They're not long running stories like
yeah.
the Book of Mormon. And here's the crazy part also is that there are complete sermons
Hmm.
that are written in the Book of Mormon that people have now traced to 19th century sermons that were given off the pulpit in different denominations that Joseph was listening to on Sunday morning when he was going around to the different
Right,
churches.
when he was on his search
Those
for the
were
right church.
written and they're almost word for word. And so, like, he was pulling from
No.
anything that he liked, throwing it into the Book of Mormon, and saying that this is how people talked back then. No, this is how his world talked in the 19th century. And he just thought, this makes sense. And certainly it did to the people at the time. He claimed that
Huh.
the wording, the linguistics behind it was Reformed Egyptian,
Mhm.
and there's no linguistic evidence for an Egyptian derived script in the Americas. No language in the Americas worked
Egyptian.
like Hebrew. That's what he claimed, that this was Reformed Egyptian. And yeah,
What even is that? Reformed
exactly.
Egyptian?
And
What?
that has been debunked by
Oh,
scholars over the
okay.
years
Okay,
as
good.
not even being a thing.
Yeah, I'm like, I've never heard
So
Reformed Egyptian. What?
no, no, that was his claim. That was another one of his
That's
claims
crazy.
that was hard at the time to disprove because we just didn't have what we
Huh.
have now.
Yeah,
He didn't think
exactly.
it was going to survive. And so now the church has to write these essays doing the apologetic work to try to help members as they wrestle the cognitive dissonance and do the mental gymnastics to keep your head
Oh
up.
my god. I imagine
Yeah.
this at a time. This is a time where, if I'm accurate with the timeline in America, like you would have scams all around where
Right.
you would have like a group of people, like a circus, where
Hmm.
they would be on a horse and a buggy, like going from city to city. This medication will give you the strength of a bull, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
they have their own person who is like a strong man, and then he takes in drink, and then they do
Yeah.
an arm wrestle, and
Yeah.
then they win, and it's like, oh, and then they get the money, and then they move to a different city, never seeing them again. And
Yeah.
obviously they are convinced because they saw it right there, and then they are convinced and they believe it. They become part of the group, but you never see them again. So
Yeah.
they just go, and that's how easy it was to scam people. It's no surprise.
Exactly.
It's no
Yeah.
surprise that Joseph Smith would have gained some number of followers, and it's also perfectly consistent trying to get into his mind that he never thought people would get overly excited with the things that he was doing and make it a
Yeah.
whole religion after
Yeah.
him, especially after he
Yeah.
dies.
Yeah.
This
I
is
just,
crazy.
yeah, I know.
It's impressive
And
almost.
Joseph has a legacy of being a scammer. And like I said, we'll
Ah.
cover the whole treasure digging thing. And I would say this is his biggest con yet,
No way.
unfortunately.
Now this is perfect.
Yes.
This is perfect.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Why does this matter?
Okay.
Because if it were truly ancient American records, you'd expect, like I said, lists, genealogies, calendars, ritual instructions, a highly condensed symbolic writing, not full paragraphs, nothing remotely resembling early modern English style. But instead, the Book of Mormon mirrors Joseph Smith's world. The revival preaching style, the whole repetition when it says, thus we see those moral lessons that
Mm,
come with that kind of preaching style of its
yeah.
time, the Protestant debates that were going on infant baptisms, the Trinity
Mm.
and salvation, all of those are being reflected in the Book of Mormon. It proves
Wow.
over and over again that this is more a 19th century work than anything
Wow.
from Mesoamerica. Okay.
Holy shit.
Exactly. And
So
that
this
is
is all
what blew
coming
my
from.
world apart.
I
Yeah.
don't blame you.
Yeah.
You had a few facts, and the thing about fact is it doesn't really work well with lies. When you have lies that have been taught to you as truths, and then you have facts that are proven by science and a lot of really consistently reviewed findings that have been proven true and true over time, it's
Yes.
like that becomes very difficult to reconcile with what you've been
Yeah.
taught for a very long time.
Hmm.
And I
It's hard.
definitely don't blame you
Yeah.
being one of the missiles that shattered your worldview, or at least one of the
Exactly.
last straws that broke the camel's back,
Yeah.
because you're dealing with the stories, the inconsistencies of his visions, the doctrines,
Yes.
his polygamy, which we're
Yes.
going to touch eventually. But then you look at the actual text, and it's like,
Yes.
but hey, there was this stone, you see.
Yeah.
And then even in the stone, he's writing things that are errors from 1611 King James Bible and all of these things.
Ironically,
And it's like, oh
ironically for
no.
me, even the stone and the hat, it didn't shake me.
Mm,
What really was the last straw was when this archaeologist that I was following, that I was listening to, made this point, and then I was like, he's right. There's no way that they would be writing this way. There's
wow.
just no way that this text comes from that time period.
Mm,
That's just not how it would look. And I think it shows that not only is it influenced by the 19th century, it
mm,
literally belongs to it.
wow.
And so once that sunk in, I was like, this is a fraud.
Yeah.
This is just made up.
You're not interested in any 19th century religion? No. Come on. We want religion that
No.
comes from Solomon. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. With God transmitting these words directly on the seer stone or the peep
Mm,
stone, whatever you want to call it, was God giving Joseph a fake ancient record that read like 19th century English sermons? Because what that means is that
could be.
either the plates never functioned as real ancient records at all, or that Joseph produced the text from his imagination
Mm,
and from the world that was shaped around him. The structure and the style of the Book of Mormon is anachronistic, which, yeah, just that's it.
wow.
That's the last of
That
it.
that is very good to understand.
It's
And
very alarming.
people build their lives over this. They make big
Yes.
life decisions over this. They
Yes.
divide their families over
Yeah.
this. They
Yeah.
well,
It
I really hope that the idea of the afterlife is at least not inconsistent. At least I hope,
oh,
for the sake of Mormons, that the idea of the afterlife is true. Because
yes.
if it's not, um, this is
Well,
quite
let me put it
this is
this
a
way.
lot.
Let me put it this way. Nobody yet has died and come back and said that Joseph's version was wrong. So
So, okay,
there's still a chance,
okay, okay,
that that one
okay.
could could work itself out. So
I'm fingers crossed.
fingers
I'm
crossed.
fingers crossed for the moment, because you guys are
Absolutely.
working so hard. You're going to
Yeah,
the
we
temples.
totally are.
You're dressing some way. You're going to
Mm,
particular schools. You're going through the interviews. Some of you are doing 2 interviews. Some of you are doing 3 interviews. Some of you are making a whole lot of life decisions. And I really hope this is true,
oh
for
yeah,
your
life
sake.
decisions that don't have life altering consequences
Right,
down the road. No.
right, right,
Yeah.
right. And it's like,
Evans, that's the thing.
good
That's the thing
luck.
for yeah, for me, the Book of Mormon, we were challenged to read it every year. I think I read it 15 years in a row. Every year I would read it. This
Wow.
was supposed to
Nice.
be a book full of original writings, and it is written like a novel to a certain extent.
Mm,
And then it just blew my mind, that last piece of evidence, that there's just no way. There's just no
wow.
way that this book would have existed. Yeah, there's all the garbage around the peepstone and all of that was alarming to me, but you can do the
Yeah, you
gymnastics
can
when it
excuse it
comes to
away.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can,
you
yeah.
can do that, and so many people have, and so you're like, okay, well, that's a little bit weird, but I mean, like, I guess that's how God communicates or
That's
whatever.
kind of
I
what it
know
was
that.
going for.
Well, even with like a cell phone, the funny thing about that is like people talk about like, oh, look at this technology. We just have things that appear on a screen or whatever else. Yeah. So it's not that weird that a peep zone would do the same thing. And so you can play the games, you can rationalize, you can do it,
I
but
think everyone has a limit to how far they can bend themselves.
yes. And when it got to that point, and when I realized that the book in and of itself is anachronistic, yeah, we're done.
Wow. Ali, this is thank you very much for presenting this. This is good work, as always.
You're
Um,
welcome.
but man, it's giving me a lot more understanding the approach to the Book of Mormon in a whole different way. Because before we even started this, I didn't know much about the Book of Mormon or Mormonism as a whole. But now I think I'm at least beginner in at least, let's say I know more than anyone below 22 that's a Mormon.
I definitely
More.
think so.
More than
Yes.
they do before they go to the temple. I definitely know
Yes.
more than the average young
I
adult that
know.
has not
Yep.
yet got into the
Yeah.
temple. So I'm proud of that. Thank you very much. You've elevated my understanding to that level.
You're welcome. And it's insane to think that this has only been circulated for the past 10 years.
Hmm.
It's insane.
Who knows what's gonna happen like in the next 5 years? Like, oh hey, actually,
I know. The internet is going, my prediction is that the internet is
wow.
going to make the Mormon church fall to its knees because they can no longer hide the truth. And literally, their hand was forced to bring this rock out of the vaults. Just
Wow.
like in the first vision, Joseph Fielding Smith had to scotch tape
Mm.
those pieces back together. I mean, that's where
Wow.
we're at. These secrets, these truths that have been hidden are coming to light, whether the church wants them to or not. The internet, humanity is going to compel them and force them to be honest. And we're done. We're done giving
Wow.
ourselves over to a religion, to a faith that wouldn't pass its own worthiness interviews.
No. Again, I,
Yeah,
I am curious.
let it absorb.
I am curious what the modern Latter-day Saints attendee or member is reconciling with this. Like,
Yeah.
because you can call me, again, if we are lying, I would like to know because again, I want accurate information. And if
Hmm.
Ali is lying to me and she's being deceived by the devil, okay, you fix it. Tell me. I want to know.
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah.
know. I want accurate information about Mormonism. What am I missing? What
Hmm.
is Ali missing?
Hmm.
What are we lying about? Call
Add
it,
to the
add
conversation,
to the
prove me
conversation.
wrong,
Yes, I
and
genuinely want to know. Calling me a liar, that's Tuesday. Like, come
this
on.
is Sunday.
This is
This
Sunday.
is two sinners on a Sunday, and we want you to come after us with receipts
Yes.
because right now, I think I've presented the most up-to-date receipts that are out there.
Yeah.
And of course, I am wanting to expand my knowledge base on all of this.
Mhm.
And this is just the beginning. And so, this is what I present to you. Please engage in the conversation and prove me wrong, prove me right, whatever you'd like to do. We're here for it.
Yes, and not just say you're wrong.
Yeah.
It means
Yeah.
nothing. Adds nothing to
Nobody's
the
got time
conversation.
for that.
I don't
Sorry,
think.
I've got
Yeah.
5 kids. I don't have time
Exactly.
for that.
She's got kids, and I have free time that I
So,
still
so maybe
won't
Evans
use to
has a little.
I still won't use to read it. I have yeah,
Exactly.
so just we're just trying to have productive
Yeah.
conversations here. This is really cool, really fun, and this is not even something that we want to serve as a divide between believers of the Mormon faith and non-believers. This is something that I want all of us to come to the table, have a family meeting. Well,
I would love that.
maybe not with me, yeah, clearly. Oh, maybe after 1978. Okay, well, still, kind of. You guys are still on the fence about that. Maybe just you and Ali meet up, okay? And have a family meeting. Let's discuss
Yeah.
this.
Oh my
How?
God.
What's up?
All right. No, you just had an image pop into my head. It's so funny. So I love anything Charlie Brown. Do
Mm,
you know who Charlie Brown is?
mm-hmm.
Okay, the little animated character. So I love Charlie
Yeah.
Brown. I love all those things. So my favorite movie, because they have like a little Christmas short, they have a Halloween one, but the Thanksgiving one is my favorite. And this is kind of, I mean, to tie it in, when it was pointed out to me, I can't unsee it.
Oh,
But all of the little characters, all the little children are gathered around the Thanksgiving table
right.
to eat. And everybody's either at the heads of the table or on one side.
Yeah.
And now watch it. Everybody go home and watch the Thanksgiving episode of Charlie Brown. But Franklin, the only black character, he's at the table, but he's on the side of the table and he's the only one on that side of the table. So all the white kids are on the right side. He's
Oh,
the only one on the left side. And it's like, okay, yeah, he's at the table. It's a little bit segregated still. I
but
mean,
he's
this
at the
was the
table.
1960s, but he was at the table. So kind of like you, it's like, hey, yeah, you are part of the family. We're going to have
Kind
you on
of.
your own side of the table,
Yes.
but you're at the
But I'm at the
table.
table. Let's
You're
talk.
at the
Let's talk.
table. Stop complaining. You're at the table. Come on.
Oh man.
I
Yeah.
can't unsee it now. Every
Yeah.
time I see poor little Franklin, I'm like, oh, where is he? Like, are they really including him or are they not? But okay, props to Charles Schultz. He really was one of the first comic strip artist that integrated, and he actually
Mm.
got a lot of flack for having done that. Some people
Wow.
said, we're gonna
Surprise.
not even going to read your comic books, we're not going to do anything, and he stood his ground, and he was
Wow.
one of the first, if not the first,
Wow.
person.
You mean he was woke?
Oh,
Oh no, not the
so woke,
wokeness. Oh my
so
god.
woke.
I can't believe
Yeah.
I can't watch it if there are black people in the movies. I just can't watch it. Oh, and then now I can't watch it if there are gay people in the movies. Oh
I mean,
no.
he was woke, but like he did it gingerly. Franklin was on the left side of the table. He was not
He tried.
sitting on the same side as the white
He
little kids.
he was
So,
woke according to them, but still, you
yes. Yeah.
know.
Yeah, exactly. So let it sink in. Evans, you too. If you have more questions, we can always talk about it. We're going to keep building off of this craziness. And I would love for people to engage more with our videos and ask the questions, and we're here for it.
Yes,
So
and hopefully, if by the time you have not been raptured, we will be back again with another episode, all
we
right?
will.
So don't
Yeah.
forget to, and even if you're being raptured, just remember to hit the subscribe and like button because it helps us whilst we're here. Even if you're being
Yeah,
raptured, just
do it before, as you're leaving,
as
as you're
you're,
hitting the roof. Yeah.
yeah, as
Go.
you're kind of, I don't know how it's going to look. Wait, are you going to be
No.
going up or going left? Like, however you're going, just make sure that before you go, just like click and then go because it
And
helps
then go.
us because
Yeah.
we are going to
Yeah.
suffer the tribulation, so we need some subscribers
That's right.
to survive. So thank you
Yeah.
very much, guys, for listening. Ali, you are wonderful, amazing.
Yeah.
You're a great teacher. Thank you very much for really clearing up what's happening here, and I can't wait to get to the next topic in the
Okay.
gospel topic essays.
Correct.
This is great,
Yeah.
and yeah, stay tuned, guys. We will see you guys later.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks.